Hi, this is David Jenkins, your host for my new podcast and video series called Crosswalks, Smart Growth and Stronger Communities. This is a transition from my previous podcasts and videos called La Plata Ward 4 Update. As you may know, I have elected not to run for the town council, and now that election was held on May the 6th. The new council was sworn in on May 12th. So I'm now a former town council member, but I wanted to transition to this new logo and perhaps expanded content. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about Charles County and their 2026 update process for their 2016 comprehensive plan. So let me go ahead and look at these slides for you, and I'll walk you through them. So this was a presentation made by the planning staff to the Charles County Commissioners early in May 5th, 2025, and it provides a very good summary of the update process they will have to go through to update their 2016 comprehensive plan, and I'll explain why in a moment. So this does a good job of telling folks in generally what is a comprehensive plan. So you can see from this slide what this is. So it's a policy document in terms of how the county would like to see how much and what type of growth between now for over the next 25 years. It will include proposed future land uses, a target growth rate, which then requires a certain identification of what the infrastructure needs will be. It'll talk again about environmental protection, and then it will have to adopted through the County Planning Commission and eventually the county commissioners. And then it would have to be consistent, or there would then follow up, there would have to be consistency from the zoning code and other county plans that would have to then be consistent with this new comprehensive plan. Let's look at this next slide. So why is this important? Just like here in La Plata, we have a comprehensive plan, but this is important because it articulates a vision of how Charles County will grow and moving forward, and which will then have a series of goals, policies, and important action items necessary to implement that vision. So then there will be zoning and water and sewer planning and other local actions that then, as I said earlier, must be consistent with that comprehensive plan, the new comprehensive plan. So the state of Maryland, through state law, requires specific elements within each comprehensive plan. I'm just going to run through them: goals and objectives, land use, housing, transportation, community facilities, mineral resources, because sand and gravel is a big element here in Charles County, development regulations, zoning ordinance, other regulations, areas of state concern, that is setbacks from rivers and streams, resource protection zones and wetlands. This also includes sensitive areas, fisheries, and most important then, implementation. Develop a capacity analysis, that is, what does the growth mean in terms of the impact on population and the infrastructure, water, sewer, schools. There have to be a municipal growth element. That'll be interesting because, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, that hopefully it'll be some coordination with Indian Head as well as with La Plata. And then it has to be a water resources element. That's a big need, and which is in terms of water supply for both La Plata and Charles County. So those are what the state requires that has to be in each comprehensive plan. So why is this being updated? Well, as I said earlier, the county's last comprehensive plan was adopted in 2026, and then state law requires that each jurisdiction, including La Plata and all the counties and the city of Baltimore, they have to update their plan every 10 years. So it's hard to believe it's been 10 years, so now the county has to go through a process to update their plan. So this next series of slides, they talk about what was in the 2016 comprehensive plan. Just a brief summary, and I will provide some observations and comments, which again, my comments and mine alone. So you can see they wanted to do, or they thought about, a managed growth policy. They did project the need for housing by the year 2020. Now here's an interesting comment, or these target a growth rate of less than 1%. And I have an observation and some information about that. And this is from the Charles County Planning Commission 2023 annual report. They have to do one each year. This is the latest one that I could find. So the county has generally met this goal of a growth rate at around 1% or less. Between 1990 and the year 2000, before this comp plan was adopted, was 1.8. Between 2000 and 2010, it was 2%. But then between 2024 and 2023, it was about 1.2%. And the current rate, that is according to 2023, it's around 1%. So in general terms, and I know sometimes it's maybe hard to believe that given what you see going on, but the growth rate has remained in and around that target growth rate of 1%. The next item, or the next goal in their plan, was 75% of development within a development district. That is an area of the county, typically in the northwest portion of the county, the Waldorf area, where there's existing infrastructure, water, sewer, stormwater management. So the goal was to have 75% of all new development within that development district and 25% outside that area. And again, referring to the county's 2023 Planning Commission annual report, in 2023, 94% of any final plat was within the development district, and then but over a 10-year average between 2014 and 2023, there was an average of 77% of new growth within the development district. So that's generally on target with that. The next one is housing diversity. And I have a little bit of a concern with that initially when they first proposed that. And that is they wanted to have a target goal of housing diversity, different housing types. Of 80% would be single family, SFD, single family development. 15% would be townhouses, and 5% would be apartments. My own particular view was it seemed to be a disconnect, because if you go up further here, look at my cursor, they were projecting back then the need for 32,000 new dwelling units. And so I'm not sure you could get there with that kind of a housing diversity. And more importantly, the county's primary transportation goal for the last number of years has been the implementation and construction of the Southern Maryland light rail line that would come out of Prince George's County, go through the county, and then end up with a final station somewhere in the Waldorf area. And so you need a certain amount of density to support that patronage or the need for that light rail system. You need people to use it. So I'm not sure with 15% townhouses and 5% apartments if that gets you there, but time will tell. But looking at the numbers, again, from the 2023 Planning Commission annual report, the 10-year average for single families, over the last 10 years, they've averaged 56% of single families, 30% townhouses, and 10% apartments. So they've not quite, they've exceeded the goal for towns, and actually they exceeded the goal for apartments. So that's an interesting statistic, again, from the 2023 County Planning Commission annual report. Let's go on to and I will just comment, 50% total land mass are saved. They are fast approaching meeting that goal. That's a pretty good success story for the county. This next one, again, additional background about the 2016 comprehensive plan. You can see what they've tried to do. They did reduce the size of the development district from 52,000 acres to 22,000. They established this water conservation district, and that was primarily to protect the Mattawoman Creek watershed, which means they reduced the density within that water conservation district, And then they had specific strict guidelines with respect to impervious surfaces, the amount of pavement or porous surfaces to reduce runoff into the stream, into Waldorf, Mattawoman Creek. And then they worked on a Nanjemoy Mattawoman Rural Legacy Area. Again, this helps them get state funding. And then they designated preservation areas in Cobb Neck, Nanjemoy, and other rural areas in the southeast portion of the county. Again, these are all areas well outside of the development district, so it makes sense to preserve as much as they can for future residents and for the future to preserve those land masses. This next slide, it's kind of hard to read, but this is a visual land use map of how they want to see the county develop according to the 2016 Comprehensive Plan. So you can see up here, this area here is the development district. These are rural. This is Zakiah Swamp Protection Area. This area over in here is the Water Conservation District. Again, preserving other areas around the streams. La Plata is here, so they do show the town of La Plata as a development district in itself. And then the rest of the brown areas are low density, where they only want 25% of new development. In this development district, they'd like to have 75%. So it's just a visual showing the land use that was envisioned in 2016. There'll be a new land use plan coming out of the 2026 Comprehensive Plan. Again, background about the 2016 plan. They did designate a redevelopment corridor called the Waldorf Urban Redevelopment Corridor, and they made some significant progress in terms of getting some state funds to look at the infrastructure and stormwater management. I believe also they did do a market supply and demand analysis for potential future land uses. And I think they did some other work with respect to stormwater management analysis. Unfortunately, progress has been somewhat limited for actual construction, given the market and some funding issues. But I would personally give the county a lot of credit for hopefully first designating that project, and hopefully they'll be able to move it forward in the future. And again, that would support the light rail system, because there would be a stop in that area up in Waldorf. In fact, I think that would be one of the final stops. And again, other key areas would to again focus on the development district and economic development. Again, look at how they can redevelop the Waldorf Urban Renewal Corridor and support commercial mixed-use development in target areas, and also look at ways to look at Bryan's Road. And I think they did what they call a sector plan for Bryan's Road, which they adopted, I think, several years ago. Again, they want to, from the 2016 plan, look at equity in terms of how they could provide land use and infrastructure enhancement, transportation and development, redevelopment of communities, transportation for all, and I assume that to mean other than driving in a car. Hopefully that would be making walkable communities. And then looking for housing for all, again, that diversity of housing options and affordable housing. And I do believe they have a Housing Affordability Commission, which came out with a study recently. Now, this is how they would like to coordinate with other planning efforts in the county. Again, affordable housing. They are doing a current rewrite of the zoning ordinance, and I will follow this particular video and podcast with a summary of that project to rewrite the county's zoning ordinance. Here again, I referred to earlier the Southern Maryland Rapid Transit. They want to continue to seek state and federal funding for the necessary planning and environmental studies. They are moving forward with a climate action plan, and then an arts and culture master plan. I have not seen much of that yet, but they are working on it. And then this is a key element that was somewhat controversial in the 2016 comp plan process, and it will be again in the 2026 plan. As I know, a lot of community groups are vitally interested in this process, and hopefully the county will do better this year. And they certainly recognize that as a vital component of any land planning or local planning process. and they hope to do a variety of ways to do that. Core value surveys. There will be a project website, what they call pop-up planning days. They will have go to different communities where they are, and they go where the people are, and have booths and whatever to set up and answer your questions. And then again, try to emphasize education to the community throughout the process, probably over a year. And then again, try to reach those who cannot necessarily go to different meetings, but they're hopefully to be able to reach out to folks. So the county planning commission's role in this process, they have to they're the ones that eventually will be monitoring the preparation of the plan from the planning and growth management staff. They will eventually be in a position to review it in total, and then make comments or suggestions or changes to it. But eventually they will forward it. They will forward this and make a recommendation to the county commissioners. They do have to follow state law, and that's what they refer to by this land use article requirements regarding the content, which I talked a little about earlier, and the procedures. And then again, continue to engage the community and the public. I assume there will be probably public meetings as well as public hearings once the Planning Commission receives the plan. They will want to get public hearings to receive public input. And this kind of a graphic, this next graphic kind of shows you in very simple form what the process is. So again, the plan is developed with the planning and growth management staff and their consulting firm, again with input. The Planning Commission, as I said earlier, will have a public hearing, maybe multiple hearings. Once that is done, state law requires that a draft plan be sent to the state agencies for their review and comment, and that's very important. And then after all this process or discussion and consideration, the Planning Commission will vote and recommend a draft plan to the county commissioners, because I believe the county commissioner will then be the final approval authority for the comprehensive plan, the 2016 comprehensive plan. So again, the county commissioners will also hold public hearing. I would hope they would hold more than one. That's to be determined. And then after all that input and consideration, the county commissioners will then take a vote to adopt and or approve the plan, or they can vote to disapprove the plan and or remand it back to the Planning Commission, or make their own changes to the plan. So they have those options, but again, the county commissioners are the final approval authority. And this is a very quick and a simplified timeline, again, for the update to the comprehensive plan, the 2016 comprehensive plan. So apparently they've kicked off, so they had this briefing. They've hired a consulting firm, and I'll get that in a minute. So we're in May, so hopefully between June and December, that's almost 6 to 7 months, hopefully there will be a very robust planning process and public engagement process. Hopefully then there will be a draft plan between January and August of 2026. And then they'll go through a process, as I briefly mentioned prior to this, final plan and an adoption process of September and through November of 2026. The only, frankly, from my own observations, and maybe it can't be helped, but unfortunately or fortunately, what position you want or take, this will coincide with the county elections, because the next county commissioner and next state elections, including county commissioners, will be next November of 2026. So I'm hopeful that this will not necessarily get entangled with politics. This, to me, is above that, and hopefully they will take pains, take the necessary step to depoliticize this process and just review it based upon the merits and public input. But that remains to be seen. But I just wanted to point that out. And then this is their consulting team. A company called Baker International. I have heard of them. They're have offices all over the country, fairly well known. I don't know any of the individuals here, but I do know the firm. In my past career, I've actually done a little work with them when I was a consultant with a different firm. And then there's a different firm doing some environmental work as well. So that's the team that'll be working in conjunction with the county's planning and growth management planning staff to develop the plan. So this is an opportunity, and I would urge all interested citizens, including those in the Plata, but also in the county, to really get involved. And so that's the contact person is Amy Dessinger. This is her email. That's her phone number. And so you'll be able to reach out, and I believe they may also develop, if they haven't already, to have a separate website where you can access all the information as they prepare all the products. And again, that's just who it was prepared by. So I just wanted to provide that update to you. That has kicked off. So I would urge everyone to be involved in this process, and because it really does affect La Plata as well. One of the things that I will close with is that during my review of this so far, I have, and again, public engagement is extremely important, but unfortunately, I have not necessarily seen at this point any particular reference about coordination with the town of La Plata or the town of Indian Head. Now, I'm assuming that will happen, but I just want to raise the issue that I hope there's a concerted effort to engage both towns, because they are, again, incorporated towns. In fact, La Plata is the county seat, so with about 11,000 folks now. So I, as a planner, I certainly hope that there is coordination with this process with the town of La Plata, with the town council, as well as the town's planning commission and planning staff. So thanks again for listening. Again, this is Crosswalks, and so I will provide a link to these slides, as well as to the Charles County Planning Commission's 2023 annual report. Thanks again for listening and watching. Stay tuned for additional podcasts about this and other subjects. Thanks a lot.